the witnesses of objectification, distraction. No one wants to be in a relationship with someone who is distracted. The experience of objectification in the media is encouraged by our need to know about other people and is therefore tolerated due to our respect for its powerful effect on us. No one wants to be in a relationship with someone who is dependent upon an object. An experience of objectification can lead to a desire not to seek or be open in a relationship because one associates their own desire with impurity of objectification, the intent behind objectification, or its manipulative nature. Upon an experience of objectification, one needs to go through pain and discomfort to regain their sense of subjective significance and to create a negative association in their mind with the experience, to prevent escalation of the subconscious desire to accept the objectification experienced, or from letting the circumstance in which one experienced the objectification from ever happening again. Another experience of objectification, such as self-objectification through teasing, can help one regain their sense of subjective significance and get over or prevent an acceptance of objectification previously experienced. An acceptance of objectification makes it impossible to relate to other people, as society requires communications to occur between mutually attracted persons, without any sexual advantages being exchanged. Those who accept objectification are unable to relate to people in general, particularly with children, as we all need confirmation of our subjective significance. Tolerance of objectification makes us want others to accept us in our state of objectification, which implicitly, via empathy, makes them desire an acceptance of objectification in themselves. By encouraging another to accept objectification, it makes people unable to relate to other people and therefore more inclined to participate in a cult. It requires a person to lie to another when acting on their acceptance of objectification. When one rightly may be avoided when one does not respect the apparent self-objectification of another as being in accordance with their wishes, which prevents people from even daring to disrespect objectification. Acceptance of apparent self-objectification can lead to humour, embarrassment, and awkwardness. It creates mistrust. The objectified are rightfully less inclined to trust others of the opposite sex, thereby limiting social interaction with or acknowledgement of arbitrary individuals. It creates mistrust amongst peers, who may or may not accept objectification. It encourages disrespect of human beings. It leads to the replacement of words that imply respect with non-presumptuous descriptions and abbreviations, such as children with kids, prevents women from becoming ladies, and men from becoming gentlemen. Tolerance of objectification prevents one from thinking that they are or can be a lady or a gentleman in their society, while encouraging one to involve themselves in activities that remove any respectable value to their sex, and so it is common that one doesn't even try. One's ability to be a lady or a gentleman also depends heavily upon the willingness of all those around them to be of the same mind, and so rapid degeneration is expected. It unifies the sexes, metrosexual. It turns boys into girls and vice versa. It creates anxiety, fear, and paranoia, all of which are easily transferred by themselves via empathy. An experience of the objectified makes one feel that they themselves and others are unworthy to discuss anything relating to their experience, or any topic relating to their experience. One who experiences objectification may appear to be doing nothing about it, based upon the effect their experience has on their self-worth. One who experiences objectification may believe that they are unable to do anything about it, based upon their own experience or limited understanding of history or social equilibrium. Social processes which have internal protection mechanisms and have only been tested on a single generation should be discussed, lest they inflict a fatal wound. Tolerance of objectification is fed by the concern that being intolerant of objectification might make others think that they have a problem dealing with it, unable to personally tolerate it. People who are self-conscious, uncertain of themselves as an object or a subject, are less likely to be concerned about the objectification of others and themselves. Tolerance of objectification may be supported by belief systems that encourage people to be self-conscious. It will result in a distorted view of physical reality and its independence with subjective reality. For example, exclusive homosexuality, although non-existent in the animal kingdom, may be viewed as natural rather than a psychological problem. The isolation of one's body from themselves, objectification, through the tolerance of objectification, encourages the formation of sexual identity independent of physical reality. For example, bisexuality and exclusive homosexuality. It isolates people from one another, compare social interaction. It lowers morale and reduces desire to make war. It does not create a desire for marriage, where there is no requirement to care. There is a requirement to care for one's most base and not necessarily vile compulsions. Historical changes in marriage and divorce rates have occurred since the introduction of objectification, and these have unknown consequences. There is no evidence to support that families are intrinsically happier with the introduction of objectification. Willing experience of objectification can become an addiction, as one begins to define others based upon their ability to give pleasure. Increases the value of relationships in general. Apparent self-objectification has little effect when one is in the environment of the objectified for a significant period of time, as it enables them to experience their subjective significance, or where one already knows or has experienced the subjective significance of one or more persons of the same sex as the objectified in the vicinity of the objectified, because one does not subconsciously feel deprived of an object, and the subjective significance experience recalled cancels out the effect of their apparent self-objectification. The objectification of the objectified has less effect when one is with other people, as the subjective significance of the objectified is more obvious. Makes people reliant upon experience of the subjective significance of the significant other, with subjective significance hidden from public view, rather than taking subjective significance as a given and seeking another of higher subjective value instead. Tolerance of objectification makes people dependent upon experience of the subjective significance of those of the same sex as the objectified, thereby increasing the worth of those of that sex, thereby providing gender-specific empowerment. Tolerance of objectification makes people dependent upon experience of the subjective significance of those of the same sex as the objectified, thereby increasing the worth of those of that sex, thereby increasing the need for their integration into systems regardless of their physical requirements, police, military, etc. Subjective significance is now learnt exclusively and belief therein maintained exclusively through successive relationships, with relationships becoming the sole means of adjustment. They have therefore become a necessity rather than an added value to life, a blessing like love, crush, dream, honour, appreciation of other, all of which are never needed in the first place, and can never therefore lose their necessity or usefulness. Divorce may result in people seeking relationships for protection or vindication of past relationships. Co-ed education systems are favoured in an objectification-tolerant society. Makes relationships with those of the same sex as the objectified more attractive, intersex friendship, for the purposes of maintaining a right mind. Creates the necessity of premarital relationships, increases the value of premarital relationships. Makes us feel at one with others in shared experience. Supports the formation of objectification-tolerant subcultures. Supports the formation of objectification-intolerant subcultures. Enhances the value of another's sharing of themselves. Personality. Increases level of external happiness, comedy, and laughter in society. Compare photography. Triggers laughter, which is our natural response to ideas at the boundary between subjective and objective reality. Makes humour an attractive property in people. Words may be created or applied for the purposes of highlighting limitations of the physical nature, sexy, hot, etc. Tolerance of objectification helps us to see how much pain and distress acceptance of objectification brings another person, so it increases our desire to avoid accepting it ourselves.